What's up? What's up?
Motherfucker.
What's up one more time? Everybody?
Naleta mikogo, naleta michongo, timbwili la kibongo, so timbwili la kitoto. Kauna jichubue zoni drama za kikongo. Kaza twende sawa zoni sela za kibongo. No the west yo I'm keeping time. Kata do and shut the
And we
fuck.
just wanted to go over a few things. So let me just start with, can you explain a little bit about the Rockwell Association and the foundation that they began?
The foundation of Rockwell Association honestly started with RCA Manning, and the Freakmasters. Okay, they established themselves between 1973 and 1974, going into 75. That's long before us. And a lot of the Rockwells were scattered in different places. Macho and Tito were living with their moms around Franklin Avenue. Willie Will was always living around 180th Street. Freddie was always on Belmont with Carlos. Papote was living down the street on 182nd Street. I myself was living on Beaumont Avenue between 187th Street and 183rd Street, right up this on Beaumont, right up the street from PS 32.
So going to the foundation, right? Let's talk about how did the crew come together? How did Rockwell Associate, and what was the elements that made them unique?
Brotherhood and the core of the floor masters of RCA Freakmasters were Rockwell, okay, and they were basically the battle dancers, the break dancers, and the up rockers. I just assumed the Godfather rope, and I spoke to him not too long ago because I'm carrying the torch, but that doesn't make me the original Godfather. It's Tito.
So, in that era, how did the structure work? So it was Tito the Godfather, and then how it went down?
Okay, Tito was the Godfather, and Macho was the president. Okay, Macho is his younger brother, and that was it. Okay, and then from there, we had the disco action DJs of Rockwell. We also had
Who consisted the DJs?
Okay, the first one, of course, was Tito. The second one was Macho. Those were first two disco action DJs. The third one was Mike, and I was the fourth one. I was the last one.
So those were the DJs, correct?
Yes.
Who were the dancers? Who were the break dancers at that time?
Who? You had Willie. You had Willie, George D. You had Ramon. Ramon was the up rocker. Okay, but it was more upstyle freak, what they called the freak, okay, because he was one of the original Freakmasters, okay. You also had D, you had Carlos, you had who else? Oh my God, yeah, Freddie, okay. Who else? We had a couple of more breakdancers, but Lenny Len came in around the 1980s and everything, but he never really danced with us, okay? We had the core five of the breakdancers were the first five that I just mentioned.
Who were the Battle Cats?
Like I told you, it was George and Willie Will, it was Carlos, and Dave, and we had one other guy and everything.
And those were the Battle Cats. And those are the Battle Cats. Those are the ones that went in there and ripped the floor. The other ones got down, but they didn't rip the floor like the Battle Cats, correct?
Right. I didn't get down on any of the battles in the 70s with them. You know.
And then when did the other divisions come in? Because I came in personally on a different division.
Okay. Chapter 2 came around in late 1979, and I was the president of that one, and that was when I brought you in. Okay, I got Puppet was involved, T, and as we were forming our ranks, we saw you in the mix dancing and everything. I spotted your talent and wanted you down, And I think Kid T or Puppet or both of them approached you, and then I came in behind them and I
No,
asked.
it wasn't Kid T. It was Tony T. Tony T.
Yeah, Tony T.
Right.
No, it was Tony T. Like I said, it was
yeah,
T. It was
yeah.
T that got that and asked you, and then I asked you if you wanted to get down, and it wasn't more than a couple of days when you had your shirt. Faster than anybody, bro.
and that's how I got my name, Kid T. Kid T comes from Rockwell.
Yeah.
When I got down with Rockwell Association, T was already there. I used to write graffiti. I used to write T2, so I could not use T anymore. So, and being that Tony was bigger than me and taller than me and older than me, I went about as Kid T. So, so that's pretty much the foundation. So let's talk about what are the expectations once you become a member of Rockwell.
Heart.
Starting from the beginning.
Heart and dedication. That's all. You just have to have respect and love for your brother. I mean, to be a Rockwell is not just a name on the back. It's about the heart inside your chest. You know, I mean, Crazy Legs wanted to be the president of the third chapter. He asked Macho and Tito. Before he formed Rocksteady, him and Lenny approached Macho and Tito, and they were denied being down and being president of Rockwell Association third chapter. It was easier for Tito to make me the president when I asked him because I lived in his house. I lived with Macho and Tito. They know my heart. I mean, they're brothers to me and everything.
What's their philosophy, if you don't mind me asking?
Respect, and that's it. Respect and dedication. Respect and dedication. I mean, we were a brotherhood, okay? Where you had other crews that was taking each other's shirts to battle against us, that would give up their crew for that night, and be one with that crew, whoever we were battling. We never left our crew to go to another crew to battle somebody else. We were unified. We were like the Navy SEALs of breakdancing.
So I recall, and I read in some articles that when Tito and Macho broke off from RCA Freak Masters and started Rockwell Association, it was to not go into the gang system, but actually go into a more fun party, family type of organization. Is that right or wrong on that? What's your thoughts on that?
You're on the right track with that. What was happening is RCA became so big, and Manny had so many people affiliated with that crew. We had gangsters, we had boppers, we had people that were cracking heads and just doing unsavory things as far as breaking the law. And we saw RCA going down a path of being a gangster crew, and that was not the vision that Tito had. And when he spoke about that with Macho, with Willie Will, and it was already decided around late 75 or 76 to leave the crew and to form Rockwell Association.
Awesome. So how does the link come together with Rockwell Association and TBB, the Bronx Boys? How's that? How do we become, shadow each other?
The reason why was the final battle that we had. Now, we battled TBB before a couple of times, okay? But this final battle in March 1978, I think it was the third week in March, in Crotona, in the Crotona gym. It was going to be an epic battle. It was the kind of battle where you would expect, like in Beach Street with the New York City Breakers and
Rocksteady, right?
And Rocksteady. But ours was a little bit more fierce. It was, Rockwell. The fellas practiced over a month. Willie Will went into seclusion, and he was telling Macho that he had something for this battle. Okay. When the battle arrived and everything, everybody was matched up, and everybody was taking each other out. It was such a close, heated battle. Okay. And that they said the best from TBB against the best from Rockwell. The best from TBB was Spy. Although Spy is a crazy commander, and for that night he was TBB.
Crazy Commandos.
Yeah, Crazy Commandos.
So he was pretty much recruited for that battle.
I would have to say so, because his allegiance was always Crazy Commandos, and I think Spy will back me on that, and JoJo. Okay, so on that final battle, Spy came out. I mean, with some crazy leg work, went down to the floor, and then Willie Will matched it, and then he went into shoulder rolls and froze in between them, that like we never saw, and that's what he was practicing. There was always a mutual respect.
Right.
There was always a mutual respect. As far as the brotherhood, I personally went to school with Batch's sister, Elizabeth. We were close friends. I mean, when we were in junior high school, I was always very quiet. Nobody knew me as a competitive dancer, you know, and nobody knew I could do anything. Nobody knew I used to go to the disco clubs in Manhattan. And I told Batch this. I shared it with him for the first time maybe about 6 months ago. Elizabeth didn't know I knew how to dance. The hustle. In the schoolyards, everybody during lunchtime or after school would put their radio on and dance in the cafeteria or dance the hustle in the schoolyard. I was very quiet and very seclusive, never bothered with nobody. Me and Elizabeth used to go to the dungeon during lunchtime from time to time. But even then, I never bothered with nobody. Nobody knew I could break dance. Nobody knew I knew how to do the hustle. And then when it came time for our prom that year, I brought my sister because she was the only one that I ever taught how to dance. Nobody knew that I used to go to the Starship Enterprise, and I used to go to the Odyssey in Brooklyn, or I used to go to Gotham's West or Roseland. Nobody knew I knew how to dance. So when the music crescendoed and everybody crowded the floor, I asked my sister, "Are you ready?" She said, "Yes." We hit the floor and we smoked it. Everybody was like in awe of what I did. Elizabeth couldn't believe that I knew how to do it. The respect with TBB and RWA, Rockwell Association, it was always there. It was always there because you see, back in the days, we even long after the breakdancing, we had the sound system. So with the sound system, we had Charlie Chase, where we DJed with him. He borrowed our sound system. Cisco Kid was our MC. Grandmaster Cass touched our mic. We had Sugar Hill Gang touch our mic. We had KK Rockwell. Everybody, all the old school rappers that we knew, the big names back then. They would do this where in St. Martin's or what park? No, it wasn't St. Martin's. It was more in the outside parks like 118, 129. Not much in 57, but the first two that I mentioned. You know,
okay, and they would show up.
They would show
jump
up
on the mic.
Yeah, exactly. It was,
and that was common back in those days, right? It wasn't
very common.
Yeah, because nowadays, if somebody grabs your mic, they want $1 million.
We didn't have $1 million.
Yeah, it wasn't like that back then. So I just want to, touch on that a little bit. So, going forward now, how many years has Rockwell been around?
Our date of birth is August 17, 1977.
Right.
So we've been around since then. So I just say do the math.
43 years, something like
43
that.
going on 44.
Yeah. So we've been around for a while. So now we're kind of like bringing it back to another light, and we got new guys coming in. We're getting some OGs coming in. What would you say to these people, and what would be the philosophy that you would expect as the Godfather, that these people will follow through with representing Rockwell Association?
Well, understand the legacy and know that it still falls on the same principle that made us: respect and loyalty. There's only one Rockwell. You could name about 100 other crews, and there won't be another Rockwell Association. Okay, so respect what we have, respect what we have done, and know that our spirit is still alive.
And what would you tell the other people because I've seen other people who say, "Oh, we're Rockwell," but they Rockwell Incorporated, and some stuff like that. That I don't know. I don't know what to say about them, but they, what association they have with us?
Well, unless I bless them and know them, I would say none. But for the ones that I do know and everything that I've given a blessing to, there's no Rockwell Incorporated. It's RWA, Rockwell Association.
Right, and we're the oldest, and we've been established for over 40 years.
Many crews have come out of us. Okay, I mean, if you tell the New York City Breakers and Rocksteady crew, one thing they both have in common with us. Crazy Legs was a Rockwell. Lenny Len was a Rockwell. Okay, not Jimmy D and Jimmy Lee, but I'm talking about Crazy Legs and Lenny. Okay, and they both learned from Rockwell breakdancers. Okay, New York City Breakers. They say they were the original floor masters. We were the original floor masters from RCA Freak Masters. Also, the Royal One, Andy, taught Powerful Pexter and some of the New York City Breakers how to breakdance. So you see, we have our feet in a lot of the breakdancers that are most famous, that are probably out now.
Naleta migogo, naleta michongo, timbwili la kibongo, so timbwili la kitoto. Kauna kichubue, zoni drama za kikongo. Kaza twende sawa, zoni sela za kibongo. Lonely West, yo, I'm keep it up. Kata do and shut the fucking gangsta rap. Got to pop the champion back to back. Wanaonigeza siku zote na wameza. Leta nkisi mchuso kweza, pombe nyingi kuja meza. Ni master dachi, kimo yuze na gereza. Lombeza, mete na wazika kaideneza. Siki wenda magetoni, tunakaba kijindoni. Tenzi nyingi za rohoni, mwisho wetu sio kingoni. Blah.